Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Currently Speaking, the podcast of the Current Consulting Group. I'm Bill Current, president and founder of the Current Consulting Group. We welcome you to our podcast episode today. I have a very special guest on this episode. I'm going to introduce him in 1 minute, but before I do that, we would encourage you to share this podcast with others, like it, support it in any way possible, help us increase our viewership and get our message out there about drug testing, drug-free workplace programs, etc. The Current Consulting Group is a consulting firm that specializes in helping employers comply with the state laws and federal regulations that apply to them. And we work with drug testing providers and background screening companies to help them promote their brand and grow their business. So help us spread the word and like and share and subscribe on our YouTube channel to Currently Speaking. We'd appreciate it very much. Now, today's guest is a very special friend of mine, somebody very well known in the drug testing industry, Mark Magsam. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Bill.
Absolutely. Now, Mark has some very significant titles. I'm going to ask him to explain those in just 1 second, but I want to first start out by saying that I've known Mark for many years through our association in the drug testing industry, but we're both members of the board of directors of NDASA. And Mark is actually our new chairman of the board. So, Mark, this is the beginning of your tenure. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And he is also the CEO and managing member of his own company, remedyNOW Consulting. And Mark, tell us a little bit about remedyNOW.
Sure. So in 2017, after many years of working in the industry and helping build and manage two successful TPA operations and coming from the collector world and all aspects of the drug and alcohol testing industry, I formed and started remedyNOW Consulting with a focus on simply trying to be a resource and provide education, training, as well as consulting as it relates to policy development, TPA operations, background screening. But in addition to that, also being a distributor for point of care testing devices, as well as breath alcohol testing equipment and all of the training that goes around that. So I've been doing that now. We're in our 8th year here in 2025 and been definitely pleased with what we've been able to do, how we've been able to connect with employers and TPAs and background screening companies and be able to help them navigate this ever-changing industry that I've had the pleasure of working in now for 29 years.
Well, it is it's a never-ending changing industry. We're going through a lot of changes right now. And I think that's a great segue into discussing NDASA for a moment. Um, I've been in the industry a long time, just like you have, and I've seen the industry go through a lot of different changes and whatnot. But NDASA is a very unique association in the sense that it does so much to support the industry, to help companies and providers, and sole proprietors, et cetera, to really understand, really how to navigate that never-ending landscape that you're talking about. Tell us a little bit about NDASA, but also as the new chairman of NDASA, sort of your vision for the future of the organization.
Well, thank you for that. The National Drug and Alcohol Screening Association, is something that I became very much involved with after it started 7 years ago. And I just decided that for many years in my career, I stayed behind the curtain, if you will, just watching and observing and participating. And I finally decided that I wanted to belong to an organization that aligned with my same thoughts and philosophies for the industry at large. The mission of NDASA is really to advocate for safe and drug free workplaces and communities through legislative advocacy, as well as education, training, and excellence in drug and alcohol screening services. And so that mission really aligned with my vision as a professional that has had an opportunity to work in many different aspects of this industry. And so I just felt that it was important for me to, in some way, give back, but also to participate and be part of something that is much bigger than myself. And therefore, I really got more heavily involved and got elected to the board of directors, served my first term, and then I got reelected and became the chairman of the board, which I'm very proud to be that individual that is here for the organization. This is not about me. This is much bigger than me. I just have the pleasure of serving. And it's really something that's been near and dear to me, in that I've seen NDASA over the years, and it serves so many people, not just employers, but communities with our community outreach as well, and recovery ready workplace initiatives, as well as the legislative side and having our voices being heard. So that's really what's become very important for me. I look to, certainly as the chairman, I look to hopefully lead with the board of directors by my side to carry forward the creation of education and training programs, but really to be out there as well to advocate for all of us as individuals in taking a look at the hard issues that surround us with regards to the challenges and the drug fight that continues to go on, if you will, out there, and really trying to be that resource and be that voice for those that otherwise are not willing or able to really get out there. So that's really kind of where I see things. And I would like to hope that I can do that and do the industry and the association proud.
Well, let's stay on that line of reasoning for a moment, Mark. What do you think are some of the most common challenges from a compliance standpoint that our employers are faced with, and how can NDASA help with that?
Sure. When I start looking at that question, there's probably seven different areas that pop out for me. I think the first one, that really is always a hot topic is the navigating conflicting marijuana laws. And employers are challenged with that as they are trying to incorporate good policies, but more importantly, looking at it from many different lenses. And how do you provide a balance with safety and as well as the varying laws and how they are really sometimes confusing? So I think that being able to keep up with the changing regulations becomes the second challenge. Things get changed, or there brings about a new bill or a new state law for those employers, and having them to now have to try and stay up with that as well. So, from an association perspective, we try to provide ongoing alerts, offering various different types of connections with our members who offer services, much like policy creation or auditing services, besides just the testing services. So I think from an association perspective, we try to do the best job we possibly can by connecting people. The other area that I think is a challenge is misunderstanding or misapplying the DOT versus non DOT rules. When employers have to navigate both sectors of those different arenas and trying to make sure that they're applying them appropriately. That becomes another challenge. Additionally, I also see inconsistent policy enforcement. And so the challenge there is that employers are inconsistently or failing to follow their own policy in some cases, which then creates those risks as well as those legal challenges. And so I think that service providers and associations like ourselves within NDASA, we really want to try to help build standard operating procedures, offering training and mock audits, as well as setting up an automated testing schedule for those providers like TPAs within our organization that offer those services back to employers. The fifth area that I also see as a challenge is handling reasonable suspicion and post accident testing. This goes back to education and providing resources to equip the employer and their managers and supervisors with the right information and the right areas of being able to properly document and make those decisions that will ultimately help protect safety. And so that becomes a challenge. Of course, record keeping and confidentiality is somewhat of a challenge sometimes when you're not keeping good records. So I think that again, the association through our different educations and programs, as well as our members, provide those actual education opportunities to help navigate that. And then, of course, the seventh area that I also see that comes up is third party errors. So employers get challenged when their third parties let them down, whether that be a laboratory error or an error from the medical review officer or the collector. You have that whole host of different challenges that come up, and so it makes it very difficult for the employer. So I think that from that perspective, service providers, specifically in DASA, we like to try and network and provide those members and employers with those different channels, so that way there becomes that support. So that's really how I see the industry and the challenges that employers are faced with.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned at the very beginning, Mark, in answer to that question, conflicting marijuana laws. I know NDASA was very instrumental in the past year educating, I guess, let's put it that way. That's a nice way to put it. Educating lawmakers and government officials about the dangers of marijuana and its effects on the workplace when DEA was proposing to reschedule marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act. NDASA played a big role in helping to move the dial on that and on that issue. Where do you see us going as an industry and as employers when it comes to the marijuana issue in the future?
Well, I think that we have to keep an open mind in the fact that we have to, I think, understand that there are many different opinions around marijuana and what one individual group may believe or perceive it to be than another. And so, therefore, the challenge that we're faced with is making sure that we're providing good, sound, factual, and even scientific based information so we all can understand what the consequences might be from whether it be rescheduling or full legalization. And what does that look like? And how do we play a role in ensuring that we are protecting the safety of not only our workforce, but our community and the public at large. So I think we're going to be faced with many difficult conversations in the future. I think that we have to make sure that we create a pathway for all of us and all of the stakeholders to make sure that we come together and we have open, constructive conversation and come up with the right solutions rather than just making a decision for something that could be detrimental to us.
So, and this is sort of related to that, but every year NDASA has what's called the Advocacy Day, where a growing number of NDASA members all meet in Washington, D.C. to meet with lawmakers, etc. You've been engaged in that, right, Mark?
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about what that is and why NDASA does that. What good is coming from it?
Sure. I think I'll set the stage in that for many, many years throughout my career and throughout my adult life, I was intimidated, I was confused, and frankly, I was opposed to any type of politics at all. I wanted nothing to do with it. I would run away from it. I wanted not a part of any conversation when politics would come up, and I avoided it. However, after having the opportunity to participate in my first advocacy day a couple of years ago, it opened my eyes to really better understanding how our government works. And it was a life changing event. I was in the halls of our nation's capital, and I got to sit down with key individuals and I got to have conversation and provide information about what I felt as an individual citizen, but also as a representative of the National Drug and Alcohol Screening Association. And I got to speak intelligently about what's important and the need for safety. And so it really gave me a much better understanding of how things work. I've still got many questions today, but frankly, participating was the best thing I ever did. And so, having had the opportunity to do that 2 years in a row, it is ever evolving. But what's so surprising is that now that we've been out and we've been doing it, we are now being welcomed and we are being recognized and we're being remembered. Oh, I know who NDASA is. I know what you are wanting to talk about versus walking in and someone not understanding the mission that we're trying to bring, the information we're wanting to share. And so I think that as we continue our efforts every year, we're going to see a resounding, I think, better appearance in that people are going to start to know what we stand for and what's important. And so I look forward to our upcoming Advocacy Day that's going to be happening in October. And I look forward to our members being there alongside the rest of us that find that our voices do matter. And we simply need to come together as a unified group and make sure that we are allowed to share what's important.
And any NDASA member can participate in Advocacy Day, isn't that right?
Absolutely. We welcome everyone.
Thank you, Mark. We've been speaking with Mark Magsam, the CEO and managing member of remedyNOW Consulting, and also the chairman of the board of directors of NDASA. And this concludes part one of our two-part conversation. I hope you'll pick up where we left off and join us for part two. We'll be posting that very shortly. Thank you for joining us.